Welcome to the Matt Report, the #1 WordPress business podcast. This isn't geek speak. It's about the journey of success and failure as a WordPress entrepreneur. Get ready. You're just an episode away from your next aha experience or big idea. And now your host, Matt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Matt Report. Is it Throwback Thursday? No, it's just the old intro. Bringing that back, just kicking a little old school. I was cleaning up some of my podcasting files and I was like, hey, I remember this. This is an awesome beat that my buddy Ronnie Johnson made. And I was like, you know what? Why am I always messing around with an introduction? I just, and I'm even probably going to get rid of the voiceover eventually that you hear in the beginning. I just want to get right to the podcast. I'm sick and tired of tweaking things that really don't matter in the long run, right? So I do want to have interesting sort of sounds, right, and music and sound effects as we progress. I think it keeps it kind of interesting and tasteful. I am a sort of a hip-hop kind of guy, right? If you didn't know that about me, you do. Now you do. So I do enjoy that kind of sound. I hope you do too. Well, we'll mix it up. We'll try some things out, see what happens, right? So where have I been? Well, it's just to give you an update, right, of where I've been. And so start of the new year, I had a bunch of episodes sort of in the tank, and I was been hinting at this series that I've been working on for web design. And I got to be honest with you, it didn't come out the exact way that I wanted it to. But I still think it's chock full of goodness, and I hope you really enjoy it. And today is the first episode of that, and I've edited it down so that it's a little bit more consumable, but I'll get to that as we move on. So business has been fairly busy. There's a lot of things in motion. We got the agency work, we got the theme shop, we got the conductor plugin, and I got my podcast, of course. And the podcast sort of has been taking the back seat, unfortunately. And a lot of content production on the Matt Report has been taking a backseat. As I've spent so much time focusing on maturing the plugin, and hey, don't forget. And I think just like you, I run an agency and it's bootstrapped, right? So all the money that comes in through client work is then reinvested into product, and that's the journey that I'm on, right? And that's the journey that I've been on, hoping to discover through interviewing all these folks over 100 episodes so far. And that's what I think I'm going to continue to focus on. You might even notice that the tagline of the Matt Report is not so much focused on the WordPress entrepreneur. It's a WordPress podcast for digital business owners now. And I think that what I'm hoping that does is broaden that horizon a little bit and bring in some different viewpoints. May have talked about this in the past with you before, so I appreciate you listening again. As always, mattreport.com/subscribe. You can join the mailing list. It's the #1 way to stay connected. Today's show is, of course, also sponsored by yours truly, my own plugin, conductorplugin.com, for new pricing models. We just released a Genesis add-on for it. It's truly amazing, and I don't want to go at it too much here because you're going to hear a lot of that in this phone call that I have today with Angie Meeker. I want to hear from folks. It's been a while since I have sent out an email. Again, I do apologize, but I'm getting back on track with that, sort of feeling a little bit revitalized with some time off, and now I'm able to get back in to the swing of things. If there are topics that you want me to cover, specifically in the WordPress space, outside of the WordPress space, I want to know. Shoot me an email, mattreport@gmail.com, or just go to mattreport.com/contact. Drop me a line, let me know, tweet to me @MattReport. And I want to cover that stuff for you. Whatever it is that you're working on in your business, I want to help you out with that, or at least find an article or another interview that I've done or found somewhere else that I think will be valuable to your situation. Coming up next week, but it'll be announced this week on the mailing list on Tuesday. I hope, fingers crossed, I get this out. But on March 31st, I will be doing a webinar with world-famous Shay Box. She is the designer of the most popular food-focused Genesis theme. It's called Foodie Pro. You can get that at our website, or you can get it at Studio Press. She's launching something that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure your heart as well. It's called the Design Biz Crash Course. So if you're a designer, specifically if you're a designer in Genesis, and even better if you have a focus on sort of that creative or that creative niche of foodies, photographers, artists, right? If you're helping that segment of that market, I'm sure you're going to want to tune into this. It's going to be great. I'll send out more details about that webinar, but that's going to go out on Tuesday, and it'll be for the following Tuesday, so that should be the 31st. That we'll be able to sit down with Shay. If you have any questions, let me know. If you have any questions for her, if you're already a fan of hers, if you use her products, or you're just generally interested in the Design Biz Crash Course. Number one, you can go and get on our mailing list and sign up over at Design Biz Crash Course. But also, if you have a direct question for me that you want me to bring up in our interview or our webinar, I'll take your questions. You can fire those over to me, mattreportblog@gmail.com. So now, going into this part one of today's show, this is something that I really love, this process that we're going to talk about today. So we've got this upcoming web design story arc at the Matt Report, and it's all about launching your new web design for either for your client projects, or maybe you're launching a website of your own. And I know a few of you are, because I've spoke to a few of you during this process. So step one of that is the design phase, right? So raise your hand if everybody's doing discovery phases before they go to the design phase. Please, everybody raise their hand that you're doing some kind of research and discovery before you do that for either yourself or your client. So Angie Meeker and I are sitting down in this conversation, and we are going from A to Z, almost A to Z, with my own property, conductorplugin.com. Because when I launched that, we were building the product, and again, this is the world of this digital business is, like I said before, we're bootstrapping this business, taking client projects in, using some of that profit, and reinvesting that into product, and hopefully expanding our channel on that further and further. So when we launched that site, it was supposed to be just a landing page. It was really just a two video landing page. It was actually going to be like a one video landing page with an email sign up. And I sort of nixed that because one, we were running out of time. Two, it was still going to take too much development time, even at the little time constraint that we had, because this had to be before WordCamp New York. So I had a friend design that. And we ended up just turning it into a website. So we turned it into a full-fledged WordPress website. We launched. We did a launch, like I've talked about plenty of times. We did that launch at WordCamp New York, or that pre-launch, and then we did the actual open sales, and we did 4,000 in sales that day. And we're like, you know what? We weren't sure if we were going to sell one copy or 40 copies. We weren't sure. So as soon as we sold that many, we're like, hey, we're onto something here. Let's just turn this thing into a website. Let's turn it into a WordPress theme, and then just make it a full-fledged website, because one, we know we got a product on our hands here, and two, there are some things we need to do to this product before we can spend time designing an entire website. So we took our landing page, we turned it into a website. So that said, I skipped our own entire discovery process that we normally do for clients at the agency. And today's discovery session, if you go back, and I'm going to try to link it up here in the show notes, all stems from Jose Caballero of the school. It's now called the Core OS, which is now part of, I believe, the new agency that he's working at in LA called Blind. And he's got his own YouTube channel as well with his partner, Chris Doe. And this discovery process, and I'm going to make this really brief, takes us through three major milestones. First milestone, or the first phase, is the discovery of brand attributes. And when you sit down with your client, or you sit down with yourself, you list out these adjectives of all of these different segments of your brand attributes, and you just list out adjectives, and you just throwing spaghetti at the wall, and you go through all of these columns. And at the end of that journey, you pick the most two, or one or two of the best ones that fit each scenario, and you build this brand statement. Right? So like you and I, and I'm sure our clients, they know what they are, but they really can't verbalize it. They can't write it out. This process really focuses in on that. There's a little bit of chaos, right? Like just, this blanket canvas, you throw these words at it, and then you pick the ones that fit the best. And that's through this chaos, we find this focus, right? At the end of it, we build this brand statement. It's like an ad lib thing. It's fun, right? It's fun, and it's a little clumsy at first, especially if you're not used to it. But once you do it, and once you get to the answer, you're like, wow, this makes total sense. So then you leave that brand statement sort of on the back burner. You move into phase 2. Phase 2 is you define customers. Now, if you're a Matt Report Pro user, you have seen some of this before with Angie. She came on and talked about that with us. But you define our user profiles. Like, who you come up with names. Like you pretend to name these folks. What are their incomes? What are their first and last names? Are they married? Do they have kids? What are their challenges? What will your product or service do to achieve, help them achieve what they need from you, and all this fun stuff? You put that all together, and you do as many as you can of the different segments. We did 3. So we did 3, but in this recording, you're only going to hear 1. Then you move on to the third milestone, which is now that you know what your brand statement is, you know who your clients are and what they need to purchase from you, right? Or at least inquire about your business. What are the goals? What are the goals that you have? And can we align these goals in a priority that makes sense for your brand statement and your clients? Right? And let's prioritize those. Which ones can we really knock out of the park right now, and which ones need to kind of stay on the back burner? So this entire discovery process was like 2.5 hours, and it's all recorded. It's not going to be in this episode, but I'm going to leave them available to you to watch on my YouTube channel. It is very important that you do get a chance to watch, and that's why I didn't include like full recordings in this audio podcast. It's important that you do get to watch, because you'll see how Angie is sort of going through the different columns. You'll see the structure of the guide that she uses. So it's a very visual thing, which is awesome, especially if you're dealing with clients, because you can do it in many capacities. You can do it like Angie and I were doing. You're sharing a screen over a GoToMeeting or a Hangout. If you have your own office, you can do it on a whiteboard or a chalkboard, and that really gets the customer engaged. We've done that before at our studio. Or if you have to go to their office, you can do it there, print out a paper. It's a very hands-on, engaging experience. I love it. I hope you guys get a lot out of this. So how I've sort of broke this up is I've sort of broken up into different clips. You won't get the full taste of everything. I sort of introduce you into these different areas. And if you want to hear more, and I really, really urge you to go back and watch the videos. I know 2.5 hours is a long time, but if you're somebody who's struggling with setting expectations, you can't charge enough money yet. Expectations either go way out of whack during a process, or during a design project, or scope creep comes into play. This really grounds you. And for us as an agency, it wasn't even so much about helping us get this information from the customer. It just kept us all grounded. It kept my team grounded. It kept the customer grounded. And when things sort of did get a little out of whack, we could say, hey, look, this was the goal that we set out. I mean, our goal, or to reach that goal, the strategy to reach that goal is only as effective as our communication in the beginning. So it's very important that Mr. or Mrs. Customer or organization or executive board, that you're sharing the right data with us, that you're being honest with us. Because if you're lying to us, well, we can't help you. It's like going to a doctor, is anything hurt? No, I'm fine, right? But you get this big pain in your side, and you just don't say anything because you don't want them to look at it or whatever. So that's what this process is like to me. I hope you find it enjoyable. Okay, let's dive into the first part. And when we go into the first part, this will be Angie introducing the discovery process to you. Hope you like it. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Matt Report airwaves, everybody. Let's dive right into the episode.
So what we're going to do first is we're going to look at what we call your branding attributes. Now, a lot of people, when they think branding, they're thinking immediately of their logo or their website or some sort of like visual representation of their product or service, and that's not what we're doing. We're talking about your brand. That's who you are. What do people say about you? Because those things influence the rest of what we're going to do. So again, the difference, just to be clear for people so that you have this, your branding, it's the distinctive value that you're providing for your customers. It's not it's not, we can't put our fingers on it. I'm not going to be able to hand you your brand. It is a feeling, and that's different than your identity. Like for people who are watching, you can see this little visual here. Just Do It represents the feeling of Nike. Their logo is the swoosh, and their brand or their trademark or their slogan is "Just Do It." But if you think about the videos that you've seen Nike put out with people running through the rain, or the little I hate to say this, but like the chubby little white kid from Ohio who put one foot in front of the other until he was strong and cross-fitting, that's their brand. But their logo, their visual identity happens to be Just Do It and a swoosh. So that's not what we're doing. We're doing branding. So let's talk about your brand as it relates to Conductor. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to have you just throw out adjectives. And if you don't know what an adjective is, because I did this with someone and they were like, "What's an adjective?" I don't even remember anymore. They're the words that describe. They're describer words. So I'm not looking for you to tell me like, we provide a plugin. I'm looking for words that describe what you provide. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about, in general, tell me adjectives that relate to the business that is the Conductor plugin.
Absolutely. So before we actually dive into that, this is unscripted, but I am wearing the Just Do It Nike t-shirt. That gets me pumped to go in my business every single day. So I will take off the sweatshirt and don the logo that is Nike.
We need to add like the Nike sponsorship right here.
Yeah, wouldn't that be something? All right, so the general attributes of Conductor, right, or the general adjectives of Conductor. Let's see. Mm-hmm. Boy, it's so hard when you put me on the spot.
It is.
Let's see. I'd say something like sleek, elegant, simple. Is that an adjective? No.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
Simple. Let's see. At the same time, I would say.
I'm allowed to say things too. Go ahead.
I would hope to think of it as something that is technological, like it's, I think it's an advancement from what we experience today.
So I added just that it's robust.
Okay, good, cool. That's a good one. Sleek, elegant, simple, robust, technological, advanced. Something that represents time saving, I guess, would be rapid. Rapid. Yeah, efficient. Yeah, that's a good one. Smart. I think it's a smart decision to make.
Yep, that's good. Yep.
If folks are looking for different solutions, and I hope it's engaging too at the same time. Like it's something that allows somebody, when they're using it, they realize that oh, I didn't even know I could do this with WordPress. It makes people think of WordPress in a different way because there's not a lot of clutter. Clutterless, decluttered.
Yeah, that's good. All right, so that's good for that. Unless you have some other ones that you want to throw in.
No, I think that's good.
Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your culture. So this is how the Conductor company interacts within itself. Mm-hmm. So I want to know, the thing is this: you can have, since we were talking primarily to a WordPress community, think about even the different cultures between like 10up and web dev. Yep. And human made, or those companies all have different cultures and they probably communicate within themselves differently too. So this is what we want to know, like what's the culture like in the company that is Conductor plugin? Yeah, so we're very in startup mode, right? It's something that that's the culture. Like we're building something, we're trying to make it work, and we're hoping that we can make a big impact, in the market. We're scrappy. We're passionate, right? We are. Isn't that funny? Because your people are probably scrappy too. Right. Your users are probably scrappy too. Right. We are. We're always looking at the big. We're always looking at the big picture.
We're always thinking scale, right? So that decision that we made for feature 1, how is that going to affect it 6 months to a year from now? Let's see. I mean, we're certainly, it's funny to say this, but we're very much like, we are maybe marketing's not the right word, but we are very much like in terms of the product, like we're always thinking like, how can this help somebody else, right? So we're always thinking of that angle. We're finding those angles for our clients and our customers. We're publishers, right? So we have our own printed publishing book, travel guide. So a lot of this stuff came from, how can we move content around the site easy for us? And then we also work with partners that we build sites for them and answer the same questions. We're very much staying on, like, I live and breathe not just WordPress startups, but startups in general and tech. So I'm very much just always watching the industry, always watching the publishing industry, the marketing industry. Very on point with that stuff.
All right. And then your users. So these are the people who, we say your community to help describe this, because we're not only talking about your customers, though certainly that is part of it, but we're talking about the overall community of people who interact with this particular product and this brand. So give me adjectives that describe those users.
Sure. Do-it-yourselfers, solopreneurs, consultants.
So now you're starting to get into using like those are not adjectives.
Okay, yep. You are correct.
The DIYers was good. That is good because that can be both. But they're very much what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess exploratory, right? Or they'll do the research, right? A lot of the folks that I've talked to have done extensive research on my plugin, other people's plugins, and kind of like ask a lot of questions. They're also, some of them are also beginners, right? They're not the advanced person. Right, because the advanced person may not. Never mind. Keep going. Yes.
Yep. I don't know if I can say that, if I can lump them here, and this might be the issue, is because in my head I'm hoping it's all of these people, but it might not be. Like the advanced person, I know there are advanced customers that have purchased it because they knew it solved the problem like that, and they were like, I'm just going to use it in this project and move on, right? Okay, so let's see. I would hope a lot of them are, I think I can use the same adjective here, passionate about it. I know there's a couple that have found it and say, like, I'm going to use this on every project because it saves me a boatload of time, right? There are also people who are looking to improve their process in their business, and that's not an adjective, but they are somebody who's looking for that too, like, why am I wasting time doing this when I can use this, that kind of thing. Let's see. I don't know if I have another one in my head right now.
That's okay. So then your brand voices, how your brand communicates externally. So how you're talking to your community. And you can think about this, Adidas communicates in a very different tone than Nike does, which communicates in a very different brand than what's the ASUS? Is that what it's called? No, other shoe, some of the other shoes. So you can have a company or a brand or a product. You can have one that is all of the same things that we've gone over so far. You can have one that has your same attributes, the same culture, the same users, but then you choose to execute with a different brand voice. So I want to hear, what is the brand voice? What are the adjectives that describe how you communicate and interact with your community?
Now Angie and I will actually go through one of the adjective sections of this discovery process. Take a listen.
The thing is this, you can have, since we were talking primarily to a WordPress community, think about even the different cultures between like 10up and web dev and human made. Or those companies all have different cultures and they probably communicate within themselves differently too. So this is what we want to know, like what's the culture like? in the company that is Conductor Plugin?
Yeah. So we're very in startup mode, right? It's something that that's the culture. Like, we're building something, we're trying to make it work, and we're hoping that we can make a big impact, in the market. We're scrappy. We're passionate, right? We
Isn't
are.
that funny? Because your people are probably scrappy too.
Right.
Your users are probably scrappy too.
Right. We are. We're always looking at the big. We're always looking at the big picture. We're always thinking scale, right? So that decision that we made for feature 1, what is that? How is that going to affect it 6 months to a year from now? Let's see. I mean, we're certainly. It's funny to say this, but we're very much like. We are maybe marketing is not the right word, but we are very much like in terms of the product, like, we're always thinking, like, how can this help somebody else, right? So we're always thinking of that angle. We're finding those angles for our clients and our customers. We're publishers, right? So we have our own printed publishing book, travel guide. So a lot of this stuff came from, how can we move content around the site easy for us? And then we also work with partners that we build sites for them and answer the same questions. We're very much staying on, like, I live and breathe not just WordPress startups, but startups in general and tech. So I'm very much just always watching the industry, always watching the publishing industry, the marketing industry. Very on point with that stuff.
All right. And then your users. So these are the people who, we say your community to help describe this, because we're not only talking about your customers, though certainly that is part of it, but we're talking about the overall community of people who interact with this particular product and this brand. So give me adjectives that describe those users.
Sure. Do-it-yourselfers, solopreneurs, consultants.
So now you're starting to get into using, like, those are not adjectives
Okay,
anymore.
yeah. Yep. You are correct.
The DIYers was good.
Yep.
That is good, because that can be both. But
they're very much what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess exploratory, right? Or they'll do the research, right? A lot of the folks that I've talked to have done extensive research on my plugin, other people's plugins, and kind of like ask a lot of questions. They're also, some of them are also beginners, right? They're not the advanced person.
Right, because the advanced person may not. Never mind. Keep going. Yes.
Yep. I don't know if I can say that, if I can lump them here, and this might be the issue, is because in my head I'm hoping it's all of these people, but it might not be. Like, the advanced person, I know there are advanced customers that have purchased it because they knew it solved the problem like that, and they were like, I'm just going to use it in this project and move on, right? Okay, so let's see. I would hope a lot of them are, I think I can use the same adjective here, passionate about it. I know there's a couple that have found it and say, like, I'm going to use this on every project because it saves me a boatload of time, right? There are also people who are looking to improve their process and their business, and that's not an adjective, but they are somebody who's looking for that too. Like, why am I wasting time doing this when I can use this?
Now we're going to hit fast forward and just give you the piece where we put all of these adjectives together. If you want to go back and watch and listen to the entire brand attributes discovery, head on over to the post for this episode, and you'll find the links to the YouTube channel for the discovery session. Let's continue.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back through and we're going to pick one or two. It can be two. It's better if it's one, but if it needs to be two, we can do that. Words from each one of these columns that you feel like most represents that concept. So let's start over here with general, and we'll go ahead and pick one out of there, one or two.
This is the scariest part of the process,
isn't it?
For me.
And the thing is this: you don't have to take the product of this. And let me tell people where we're going with this. What we're going to do is create a brand statement from this, and that says your organization provides this product or service to this user, and these are all the adjectives, we're just like Mad Lib style, to these users with this culture and personality, that point of view, to help them get this benefit and feel this value. Now, once we've done that, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take that and go and plaster that on your website or your business cards or that sort of thing. Some companies do. Some people, they get that brand statement, they're like, hallelujah, I've never been able to voice that before. But you may already have key messages, key brand messages that you're using that will support whatever comes out of this. So I just want people to know that in this process, even if you were to do this with a client, I mean, if we were to bring this to Nike, we wouldn't necessarily want them to go and replace this whole statement with, or, replace just do it with this, because it's possible this can be that's distilling this down then to different marketing messages. So let's go back through and we'll start at general and pick from there. And also, I can make this bigger. This be bigger.
Man, I would really like to pick efficient and engaging in this one. All right, so now we're going to put all of these selected adjectives together and we're going to create the brand statement.
Okay, so what we have, and so I would encourage you to come up with, and this is part of the actual term for the product or service. We don't cover that because typically the client has it in place already. So I'm making up something here and we can replace that if you want to. But what we came up with is Conductor provides efficient and engaging content management to DIY publishers with an innovative and trusting point of view to help them realize new opportunities and equip their inspiration.
Nice.
So what we do with this is the way we use it with clients is we use it as our guidepost. We come back to it if they have an idea that they want to pursue, as you see later. If it doesn't come back to, if it can't point back to this message, it's very easy for us to then say, let's talk about how that message with your brand statement. Does it align with what we said already? So like when this says DIY, when you say DIY publishers, as an example, when we get into talking about target users, your messaging to an advanced WordPress developer would be very different than your messaging to the beginning DIY publisher, even though the truth is that they're both DIY publishers. Does that make sense or not? I'm not sure if that makes sense yet.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. Absolutely.
Right. So they're both DIY publishers, but the way that you would provide your efficient and engaging content management and all of those other things would have to change based on the user that you're looking at that point.
All right. Speaking of users, we're going to dive into the user profile section. This one hops right in the middle of our second user profile. Again, if you want to hear both of the all three of the user profiles and the rest of the stuff, head on over to the blog post or go over to mattreport.com, find this post, and you can get the links to the videos. Let's carry on.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to move on to another user profile. And this one, I would encourage you to target this a little more towards the developer end and maybe the maybe developer that's already working in an agency. Because I know I hear you a lot and you're talking about this, that you have those two very different types of users. So let's talk about this developer and how what their story is. So what's their name?
Can we call him Matt?
Yes.
We'll call him Matt Smith.
Okay, all right. And all right. Okay, and how old is Matt?
We'll go 33.
Is he married?
No.
All right. So what's Matt's story?
Let's see. So
did he go to school for this, or did he just figure it out on his own? I'm curious.
That's a great question. I'm going to go with he did go to school for this.
All right.
Yep, went to school for the CS major.
So he knows his stuff. Like he's not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right.
And this is not me, by the way. Even though I use the name Matt, it's not me. Knows his stuff. Has a job at, let's say, a 15 to 20 person shop.
Is it WordPress specific?
Yeah. Yeah. WordPress specific.
Decent size. It's a
Yeah.
decent size agency.
Yeah.
WordPress world. What's his role there?
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go with. It's a toss-up. I'm gonna go with. Web architect, right? Somebody who's not geeking out on code every day certainly does it, and is much more of a lead, engineer. But he's also making decisions on where the project is going. So it's not just like build this theme or this template file every single day. There's somebody who's he's somebody who's accountable for the overall, the overall technological decision of the site or the solution.
So that is, excuse me, that's a really important distinction between just saying that he is he's a developer at the agency, but then changing that to he's the lead in a project, or even lead amongst developers. That alone changes how you market, because one is do your own job efficiently. The other is how can we save your agency money?
Bingo. Yep.
It's so different, and I know from the previous marketing that you talked about that. You did talk about that. Now as we get further into this, we talk about how do we equip this lead engineer to go back to the agency owner and say, when we work on WordPress projects, let's use this so that we save time. Well, when we get into his goals and needs, that's a very what's the word I'm looking for? That's something you can do.
Right.
That's such a lame way to say that, but that's something that you can do. You can give that person tools to go back to his owner and say, this is how we're going to do this because it's most efficient.
Yep.
So, all right. Does he work a bajillion hours a week like you hear about people working at agencies, or is this one of those agencies that's like, work when you need to, take all the vacation you want?
No. So it's certainly not as lax as that, but I don't think it is. I would go with the average, 40 to 50 hours a week. He's certainly somebody who is passionate about this stuff. He definitely attends, a WordCamp, and maybe even is somebody who's also educating people in his own regard about their own process, right, or their own strategies, that kind of thing.
All right. Does he want to stay in that role? I mean, is he perfectly happy to do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
I think so.
So tell me about his demographics.
And not afraid to try things, right? So he's not that developer, which I guess is why he's in this role as the lead, because he's not afraid to discover something new and be like, let's understand it, let's try it out, and if it's something that can scale for our needs, let's just use it. Versus the developer who's like, I'm just going to code that myself.
Yep, I have to do it all by hand. Yep. That's to me, this is, as I hear you talking about what you're trying to accomplish, that to me is a really key understanding for this person, that they're not afraid to try new things, but they need to understand it. Yeah. Because the truth is, this person is accountable to that agency owner. So if he says to the agency owner, we should do this, he's got to be able to back it up. And this gets back into the trusting you and you trusting them as well, or trusting your customers. So, but it's really, I think that it will be, in order to really grab these people, it will be very important for you to talk more about the code behind Conductor and how it's not just a crappy builder.
Right.
But again, those are focused on two different two very different groups. So tell me his demographics. What are we looking at? How does he drive?
Yeah. So how do we outline? Could just scroll back up to that again? I forget what we what we start
So
with.
some of the things that we talked about, is he married? Does he have kids?
Oh, right. Yeah.
What's his total income? What kind of car does he drive? Where does he live?
Yeah. I'd say West Coast, probably doing 75 grand in this position. Drives a Volkswagen GTI, 6-speed. Single, but ready to hunker down.
What does he like to do in his spare time? I'm curious.
I'm gonna give him the stereotypical label, probably doing CrossFit.
Okay. I thought you were going to say he likes to brew beer, but CrossFit works probably just as well. So, all right. So what are his goals? What's he trying to accomplish both for himself, which translates into what the business is trying to accomplish, but what's he trying to accomplish? What are his goals?
So his goals obviously are to achieve profitability for the business, to be the cornerstone of scale, right? When these intricate problems come in, he's the first in line to review it and evaluate it and make the decision of whether or not they can take on a project. And does this incoming project mean, is it a new type of project that brings the business to the next level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if so, which is what he's looking for, if it's something that they've never done before, how can they achieve it, right? Can he quickly look at the things that are out there and say, I can grab this and this, and based on the experience that we have, we can complete this project, which will bring us into a whole new tier that we've never been in before. Sure, it might be a rocky ride right now, but we're going to get efficient at it, and it's going to bring us into the next level, and we can do more of this stuff, right? It's systemizing that opportunity and becoming efficient at it, which grows the company, and hopefully he's getting bonused, right, on this stuff.
I was just getting ready to ask, does he receive bonus or additional commissions if he increases profitability?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Damn well better be.
So then what does he need from you in order to demonstrate, in order to accomplish those goals?
Well, I think you hit it before. He definitely needs to have the trust of the product. He needs to know how it's going to scale. When he's deploying it on either larger sites or he's evaluating the support model, right? When he has questions about this stuff, because he's the one responsible at the agency, he needs to be able to say, I've sent these guys an email. And I'm getting the answer I'm looking for, or I can find it, somewhere on their website.
Do you offer different levels of support for developers or agencies versus the DIYer?
Not yet.
Okay.
Right now, we do, in the sense of, if you're a developer, you get access to any of our beta projects for you to play with, but that's more of a funner thing.
Yeah, right. All right. So he needs the trust of the product. He needs to know how it works and that it works.
Correct.
He needs to know that it's not just a builder. That's a crappy builder. What can you give to him to demonstrate that he is going to be able to achieve profitability with this product?
Yeah. That would be
Besides just the thing is, I know that you can watch the video of you rebuilding the New Yorker,
Yep.
and theoretically they should be able to put that together and say, wow, look at that, we just rebuilt the New Yorker in less than, what was it, like a half an hour or 22 minutes or less. It was some crazy short time.
right.
So that should be able to translate, but that is not. I think that's not concrete enough for agencies. So
Yeah, I think that at the agency level, if you're an agency looking to buy this, we would just have to do, some kind of, and I kind of do this now, and like a concierge delivery, right? So it's just like, I'll set up give me I'll take the specs of this particular project that you might be working on. You don't have to give me the name of the customer, but give me the scenario that you're faced with. And we'll spend some time, much like we spend time with a discovery session, or an hour at least for a web project, like talking to them and say, here's the project, and how can you solve it for me? So I'd say something much more like real software sales, right? Stuff that the WordPress industry is not used to, right? So if I think back to my ISP days, like I would be on the phone, webinars with people or conference calls with people for hours, like talking about like network storage, right? But those things were like 50 grand, not a $50 plugin. But at an agency level, licensing and support, happy to schedule those phone calls to help you figure out how we can deliver it to you.
I think so. I think
case studies.
We talked about this one we talked about this before, but maybe case studies of more complicated projects. So if he got these things from you, then he'd accomplish his goals.
Yeah.
I just want to confirm with you, if he got those things from you, he'd be able to accomplish his goals.
How it works and when it works, he needs to know that it's not just a crappy builder, support, concierge, individual demonstrations, case studies, and more.
All right, now
projects.
we're going to wrap it all up.
I hope so.
With the third piece, and that's the part where we take all of the previous two steps, kind of wrap it together, and start to outline the goals for our project. We actually didn't even finish that in this 2.5 hour discovery call, but this is the start of it. What you're about to hear is the start of it. We talk about, hey, after we did the user profiles, does the mission statement still match up to what we just discovered? And Angie tells us, hey, look, if this is the time where changes can be made. And the statements is sort of a dynamic thing. It will always sort of change. Businesses will change, so your statement's going to change over time anyway. But because you went deeper into discovery, you found out who the clients are. Maybe you were a little bit more honest. You didn't realize it, and you just found something else. So your mission statement might change. And this is the point where that'll happen, especially when you want to align it with the goals of the company or the product. So let's get to the third and final piece.
So what we're doing next. So far we've talked about your brand, and we've talked about your users' needs. And when we look at your branding statement, this is what we've got. Conductor provides efficient and engaging content management to DIY publishers with an innovative and trusting. That innovative and trusting point of view could be wordsmithed a little bit, but to help them realize new opportunities and equip their inspiration. So as we've gone through your users, do you feel like that still captures what you're trying to do?
I think efficient and engaging still works. Efficient and engaging content management. The DIY wouldn't fit the last two use cases or the last two clients, right? Because the DIY, like in that case, it's like they're both like salaried people who are responsible for.
It sounds cheap. It almost sounds a little cheap, like.
Right.
DIY, like it makes it sound like I'm going to go get my yarn out and hack something together. And that's not, DIY is not what you're trying to, that's not the sort of DIY that you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Even though they are doing it themselves,
right.
That's not, it doesn't hit hard enough on what you're trying to say.
I would probably just maybe at this point leaving it to just publishers, because I feel like that's still synonymous to WordPress. So even the DIY WordPresser understands that WordPress is publishing content.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, and also then even in your marketing, I think this is important. Even in your marketing, reinforcing that. Don't gloss over the word publisher.
Right.
Reinforce. This is what you're doing. You're publishing content. Even if you're doing it for the law firm, you're building a site for them. You're still enabling them to publish content themselves.
Right.
And so I think almost leaning into that word
Yeah.
and really exploring that with people
Yeah.
could be good in your marketing messages. All right, so what we're going to do now, let me get down here, is we're going to look at your business goals then. And the way that we do this, we talk about 3 areas: increasing revenue, increasing awareness, and increasing efficiency. And this is not for how the client is going to use this. This is for your team, for your company. What are just quick ideas that you have for how you can increase revenue, increase your awareness, and increase your efficiency. And what we do with this then is after we come up with the concepts and we go all the way through it, we rank them by obtainability. So how easily can we accomplish this thing that we just talked about, and desirability. How much do we want to do this thing that's going to then turn around and help us meet our users' needs. Then once we've done that, then you can go back and total them up, and highest numbers win. That's what you start working on first. Now, I will say this. Typically what we do with clients is we leave the ranking, well, I don't want to say, we do that part with clients. We typically don't do it on the video. We'll have them take it, and we don't do it live. We have them go back and rank it and then bring that back to us, because the ranking part takes a little bit of extra time that kind of slows us down. So, but it's important though. You can't, people think, oh, I could do these 15 things. Well, you can't really do those 15 things in each one of these areas. You have to have some sort of matrix for sorting through those things.
Right.
And figuring out what you should do next. I think a lot of WordPress folks get stuck on what they should do next. Well, this gives you just a quick framework for doing that. So there's no bad ideas here. You can just throw out whatever comes to mind of how you can increase your revenue for the Conductor plugin. So let's go. All
right. So the first 2 that are coming up in the works already are a new pricing model. And it'll actually be a 4-tier pricing model for the purchase of Conductor, as it's known right now. Add more value to the.
What does that mean?
Yep. So the next step that's coming sooner before the top one will be, or actually it rolls out at the same time roughly, is there'll be a starter theme that also comes with Conductor. So instead of being just Conductor the plugin, and when they get it, where do I put this thing?
Yeah.
It'll be, you can also use it with this starter theme, or use it on any theme, really.
So that begins to get back to, for your first user who needed process. They needed workflows, and they needed processes. And this begins to speak very directly to that. Mm-hmm. And then you show them, this is the workflow. This is what you do. You get the theme, you get the plugin, then you begin. So
right, because and that's what we were running into, right? So we had people using other products in conjunction. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've never like, it's crazy as much as like so many tutorials out there on how to do things, and you're like, boy, people must just follow these to the T, and you should be good to go. But then like the people are like using like Conductor with dynamic with Andrew Norcross's plugin to like change the color styles and stuff like that. I'm like, what? Why are you doing all that? All right, so add more value, and at this point, it's starter theme. And I think add more value in the future would be, maybe this does another line, is the support, some kind of extended support, right? So. It's either like it's just a priority support, but it's just something that's much more interactive, right? So being able to pick our brains of being, air quotes, expert WordPress developers, even though I hate that word, our brain of all the stuff that we've been through, and, be able to help people in that regard. So you're getting extended support. It's more like membership style kind of thing, and much more interactive. Integration. So I'm kind of torn between like agency and integration, right? So it'd be like the Carson profile, like, oh, I see that conductor is only $100, right? But you want to charge me, $3,500 to integrate it, right? But that's a different level. That's us coming into your site, building it in specifically tailored for you. It's just a bigger price, right? They still have a license that they have to pay every year. So I don't know if agency integration versus like corporate integration, like the publishers that we work with.
Oh, okay.
Like we build it for them, they don't touch it. Like an agency would go in there and kind of poke around and extend it to whatever they wanted to do. Whereas these publishers, we'd be just custom build. Let's set it up for you.
All right, everybody. I hope you made it to the end. This is a super condensed version, even though this was still an hour long. It was a condensed version of the actual discovery call. If you want to get the full thing, head on over to the blog and download or view those videos on YouTube. I hope this was super useful for you. We're going to continue on with the web design series, and we're going to move into, in the next chapter, is speaking to somebody who was building his website or just getting ready to build his website. And he's a developer. So he was out looking for a designer. We're going to learn about how he set his budget, how much time he thinks this is going to take. Is he going to develop it? Is the designer going to develop it? We're going to find out how that whole thing is going to play out. And hopefully eventually we can get an update to see how that all went with him. So stick around to the next episode. You'll find out who that is, what we're talking about, and all that fun stuff. It's mattreport.com/subscribe. You join the mailing list. And as always, if you want to become a pro member where we have monthly mastermind calls and there's a private forum, we can all chat with each other. There's only a couple $100 for the entire year. Head on over to mattreport.com/join, become a pro member. Till next time, everybody, we'll see you.